Hello again, it's me, your Da, and welcome to another episode of Skateboarding with your Da. And this is the episode you've all been waiting for. This is the one where I speak about my crappy camera setup. It was about this time last year that the camera on my old phone kicked the bucket. So naturally, I went on eBay and I bought one of the cheapest cameras I could find. This one here, the Campark ACT76, which cost me about £30 give or take. I've done a wee bit of modding on my camera. I changed out the lens for one with a wider angle of view. We'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. But first we're going to head to a spot that I've been eyeing up for ages. It's harder than I thought it was going to be. Fun. I better go before I annoy any of the people that live here. Wouldn't want to do that, would I? Alright, I'll go into detail about the camera in a minute, but first let's have a look at this headcam footage I filmed with the original lens. I found out the hard way that this hill's steeper than it looks. That was me stumbling trying to run it out, by the way. It's quite narrow and there's not much room for carving, so realistically your choices are bail, foot brake every 2 seconds, or send it round a blind corner into the harbour. There's actually a couple of decent looking spots down there, I might have to revisit that. Right, let's talk geek stuff for a minute. According to the manufacturer's specs, this has got a diagonal viewing angle of 170 degrees. I haven't tested this to find out if it's true, so I'll take their word for it. Although if I can be bothered swapping the lenses out, focusing them, and printing and setting up test cards, I might do a video on that at a later date. Seems right enough if the camera's on a tripod, but on the helmet it's not the best view. So I went and bought a cheap M12 threaded lens off eBay for about a £5. It claims to be 180 degrees diagonal. Judging by the footage you're about to see, I'd say the difference is probably more than 10 degrees. So this is a new lens here. Obviously it's still a bit shaky, the camera doesn't have image stabilisation, and software stabilisation just doesn't cut it. So there's really not a lot that can be done about that. But having a wider view does seem to help. If you watched this video from a couple of weeks ago, which was shot on the same hill as this one, you'll see the difference for yourself. You'll have to ignore the weird colours though, I forgot to set the white balance properly, which is a totally different issue and I won't go into that right now. Instead, let's watch me almost eat it because my foot braking technique's pish. That was not efficient use of foot braking. Also, for the first time I can actually get some half decent first person clips. I did do this a while back, which you can see here. I mean it's alright, but you really can't see much other than the board, so you really need those extra few degrees. Like in these clips just coming up in a second, you can actually kinda see where I'm going, which is always a bonus. It would help if I could do tricks, but hey, that's nothing new, headcam or no. Not that you'd be able to tell from the angle, but this is Argyle Square in Wick. It was just renovated a couple of years ago, so it's lovely smooth tarmac, apart from the odd bit of dirt, gravel or bird crap. There's a couple of fancy, arty looking aluminium benches in the middle, which are definitely skateable, but I'm not touching them, at the risk of being chased out of Wick like Bart Simpson after cutting Jebediah's head off. So let's do a quick rundown of the specs of this camera. I'll give you my thoughts on it, whether or not I'd recommend it, and about 17,000 reasons why I definitely don't. The Campark ACT76 is very much a generic, cheap, mass-manufactured camera, and the advantages it does have over other generic, cheap, mass-manufactured cameras are half-assed attempts at convincing you it can compete with name brands. It just proves that you should never trust the manufacturer's specs, because even though it's got Wi-Fi and connects to an app on your phone, doesn't mean it's good. For starters, to connect you to Wi-Fi, it completely cuts you off with the internet. That's both mobile and Wi-Fi, so don't expect to get that important WhatsApp from your mates arranging a meet-up for a skate. This could easily have been avoided with Bluetooth or even Wi-Fi Direct, but you get what you pay for. The app's absolutely loaded with bugs. It cuts off your video if you lock the screen, which you're probably always going to do when you put it in your pocket, because the Wi-Fi's got a range of about 9 centimeters. It claims to do up to 4K, hence the name, and allegedly this is 1080p at 60 frames per second. But you've got to remember, resolution doesn't equal quality, so you can see for yourself, it won't compete even with a mid-range smartphone camera. The audio, well, let's listen for a second. I know it doesn't feel right.
don't have my shin pads on.
It's rotten, isn't it? Just watch any of my videos up to January this year and you'll see what I'm saying. It's got a built-in mic and it can't take a USB external mic, although it's possible to mod it and add a jack if you're into that sort of thing. I've actually done it, but I couldn't find a decent external mic, so I just soldered the internal one back in and left a hole in the side of the camera, because why not? Anyway, this video is starting to get a bit lengthy, so that's enough ranting for today. So my final thoughts on this: at the end of the day, it's a £30 camera. If you think you're getting a GoPro for 30 quid, then you're delusional. Just like me here, trying to do backside flips when I can't even kickflip.
Oh my god! That's primo. I hate that trick now. I always did. Hate it more.
Would I recommend the Campark ACT76? Short version, no. Long version? Well, it depends how desperate you are. If you don't mind sacrificing a few things, then go for it. But if you want quality and you don't mind going for older second-hand tech, you can pick up the GoPro Hero 3 for pretty cheap these days. In hindsight, maybe that's what I should have done. All that being said, if you're going to go cheap, go cheaper than 30 quid. You can get a plain old generic cheap mass manufactured camera for about a tenner on eBay with a few less marketing buzzwords. And that's the bottom line, because your dad said so. And that's all I got to say about that. Thanks for watching Skateboarding with your dad, and don't forget to subscribe for more content.